Well, for more, I'm joined now by Makram Rabah, a lecturer at the American University of Beirut. Thanks for being with us. Makram, if Israel did indeed, thank you, if Israel did indeed strike the Iranian diplomatic compound in Damascus, that's sure to be seen by Tehran as an escalation. Why would Israel take this step now?
I think this has a number of messages. Primarily, it's kind of a preemptive move to remind Iran what is involved to actually cross the rules of engagement, because this strike comes at the heels of a strike by one of Iran's militia to the Israeli port city of Eilat. At the same time, I think that the targeted people who have all a kind of an ongoing role in the conflict, be it in their support and the management of the Iranian network of militias, or any potential war down the road. All of these are indicative that the Netanyahu government, in a way, will not stop at anything to protect itself, even if this would require prompting a kind of a regional conflict.
You mentioned the attack on the Israeli naval base. That was less than 24 hours before the attack on the diplomatic compound in Damascus. That attack on the naval base was claimed by the Iraqi Islamic resistance, backed by Iran. Do you see a connection there?
Well, certainly. In this part of the world, there's no such thing as an Iranian proxy. Most people view these entities as directly commanded by the Revolutionary Guard. Certainly, in the case of Lebanon and Hezbollah, they are under the direct command of the IRGC. Even yesterday, one of the most prominent people who were targeted was the chief of staff of the IRGC, both in Lebanon and in Syria. So in a way, Israel is being punitive, but at the same time also preemptive, because I think that the moving of new hardware or more sophisticated weapons to Iranian proxies in the region might be extremely dangerous to Israel. And this is why I think that the targeting yesterday of an official Iranian compound, because we know for a fact that over the last few years, many Iranian targets have been hit in Syria, but never to the extent that it has involved hitting a kind of a diplomatic compound like what happened yesterday in Damascus.
The IRGC, of course, being the Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps. Now, alongside the ongoing war in Gaza, we're seeing attacks in Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Iraq, the Red Sea, and Yemen. Is this conflict spinning out of control?
Well, I think that we already have spun out of control, because October 7, despite the fact that people assume that this will just peter out, I think that both Israel and Iran are in a kind of an open confrontation. The problem here is that the international community, be it Europe or particularly the Biden administration, hasn't taken any right steps in the right direction by actually anchoring the idea of peace rather than using military means at their disposal. Because even after the challenge of Hamas is dealt with in Syria, inside Israel and Palestine, I think that Israel and the international community has to deal with Iran. And as long as Iran is allowed to support and to extend its network of militias, I don't think that peace and stability in the region will come anytime soon.
What is it that you're proposing that the international community do in its dealings with Iran to address this situation?
I think one has to be reminded of the problem with Iran is that it does not really function in a political framework. And the problem is not only Iran's nuclear weapons, but rather its militias in the area. And this is why any return, and this is something I actually do endorse, that we do have to engage Iran in dialogue, but we also should not let it off the hook by dealing with it as a kind of a normal state, whereas in fact it has all of these militias that we mentioned over the interview. So in a way, I think the Iranian regime should be called out for its continuous use of weapons, not weapons of mass destruction, but rather of non-state actors to thaw a kind of instability in the region. Only when we address these militia concerns, I think that stability can be on the table.
Makram, thank you very much for talking with us. That was Makram Rabah, Assistant Professor of History at the American University of Beirut. Now,